We finally have more information for RWBY Volume 9, as Rooster Teeth just dropped a teaser for the volume itself. It is on both the Rooster Teeth website as well as their YouTube channel. I'll leave links in the description down below so you guys can go and check it out there, but with this teaser comes more questions than answers, honestly, but also the release date of the volume itself. Early 2023. Volume 9 has been delayed a little bit more than we were expecting, but honestly, I'm kind of okay with that given all the other RWBY content that we are getting this year. Not only with RWBY Ice Queendom and RWBY Arrowfell, which has been announced to release the fall of this year, so fall 2022 is its release date, but in the RTX panel that was just on today at the RTX convention, apparently there is also going to be a theatrical movie release for the RWBY/Justice League crossover. I haven't really dabbled into that much of the crossover itself, but it's another RWBY project that's in the works, which does explain the delay for Volume 9. So much has been worked on at the same point in time. But RWBY Volume 9 is still going to release, and I am really looking forward to it after this teaser. Apparently, those who actually attended RTX got to see the first 4 minutes of the first episode of Volume 9, so, you know, there may be a follow-up to this video, assuming that's ever made public before Volume 9 airs. But for now, let's discuss the content of the Volume 9 teaser. To sum up, things are going to be getting quite a bit more wild and wacky in Volume 9 compared to other volumes. The teaser starts off by seeing RWBY kind of isolated and alone, and we see a little bit of the world that she's entering. It's very colorful and certainly operates off of its own rule set that is very much separate from Remnant. We see the moment that RWBY discovers Penny's death, something that she's likely going to have to deal with at the beginning of the volume. It seems like she stumbled across Penny's blades that were made using her magic, and considering it's made from magic, that's likely why it still exists in this other world. All physical objects that were created and existed in the kind of Crossroads realm and fell into the void likely got transported to this other world. Whether RWBY is just looking at a blade that she found of Penny's, or maybe next to this is Penny's body itself, we'll have to wait and see. That would be honestly pretty dark to show in the volume, but given how dark RWBY has been progressively getting with every new volume, also wouldn't be surprised. Throughout this teaser, we also see each of the members of Team RWBY very briefly. Each of them are isolated, which makes sense that they will be at the beginning of the volume and will eventually have to reunite. It seems we do also see a moment, likely very shortly after they reunite, as all of Team RWBY is arriving at the Yggdrasil tree, or the giant tree that's at the center of this island that was kind of teased at the end of Volume 8. Which is notable not only for the fact that the tree is absolutely going to be relevant at some point in time, but also this is just Team RWBY arriving. Neo and Jean are not present. They're probably off doing their own thing, if my ideas are correct, that they were the first two to encounter each other before they encountered anyone else, then, you know, things may play out in a certain way. But the visuals of this scene overall, the colorful nature of the world itself, I kind of understand why Rooster Teeth has been working on this a lot throughout the past 2 years and why it's taken so long for them to work on it. The detail that would have to be put into not only the character models as well as building the overall setting itself would be a lot. And I'm excited to see the culmination of the past 2 years of work when Volume 9 airs. But as I mentioned previously, it wasn't just Volume 9 that the crew at Rooster Teeth was working on over these past 2 years. There have been a number of other projects, so I've seen online that people's expectations seem to be like kind of elevated and through the roof, given that it has been 2 years since we've had a RWBY volume. People are starting to say things like, well, since they've taken so long, this had better be the best RWBY volume ever, and things like that. Raising your expectations to astronomical levels is going to be setting yourself up for disappointment. This is going to be another RWBY volume just as we've experienced in the past. In my opinion, every RWBY volume has improved upon the last, and I would expect the same here. However, it's not going to be like a exponential increase in anything that you might be expecting. It's going to be another RWBY volume, and I'm heavily looking forward to it, as I hope everyone else is as well. In the teaser, we got to see a brief image of Neo, just one flash, considering it's only 54 seconds long, the entire teaser, we only really got to see brief flashes of everything that was shown, but Neo looks pissed. And that's completely understandable, considering she just got betrayed at the end of Volume 8, again by Cinder, tossed aside and treated like dirt, and she has every reason to be pissed. We don't know exactly who she's looking at this point in time, whether that's just the immediate expression she's had upon waking up. Again, wouldn't be surprised, but she's going to be real angry throughout the entire volume. Unfortunately, we didn't see Jean at all during this trailer. At least, I don't think we did. We did see a brief flash of a knight-looking character that does seem to have somewhat similar armor to Jean's, so although I don't think this is Jean himself, it could be somewhat of an origin for his armor. Perhaps. Maybe there was inspiration taken from that. Maybe Jean's ancestor was someone from this realm, or something along those lines. There's going to be different connections drawn between this realm and the world of Remnant that we have come to know already, so, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what will come of this other world, and what new things we will learn. The rest of the trailer kind of gives us brief flashes of a number of new characters. We have a brand new mouse character that seems to be traveling along with RWBY, probably going to be met very early on and is going to travel with her. The mouse does talk, and we've learned its name is actually Little, so, you know, talking animals, very different from Remnant. Things are going to be very different in this world overall. We also see a cat, obviously inspired by the Cheshire Cat. We see a queen-looking character. I guess it could also be a king, but there's a character with a crown on their head. We also see what looks like an absolutely badass warrior lady, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about her. And that also raises the question, if this is kind of Nordic-inspired, with the Yggdrasil tree possibly being the other 9 realms, this could be a warrior inspired by Vikings, which would be something I would love to see in RWBY. With the visuals we have seen thus far, there is a great many possibilities that we could see in Volume 9 as a whole. This world is literally a realm of new possibilities, which we also have the name of the world on top of that. It is called the Ever After, and the name itself could have some implications for, you know, ever after what exactly? It's not the afterlife, I don't think. There's no indications that that's going to be the case, but it could be ever after, as in, you know, something maybe that the gods went to after Remnant or something like that. Another of the new characters or beings that we saw is someone wearing like an animal skull mask, very reminiscent, at least the horns and the color of the skin of the being itself is very reminiscent to the god of darkness, so maybe that idea that this realm was something else created by the gods, or the gods are actually members of their own Asgardian race, or something of the like, could seem accurate. Again, we'll have to wait and see. And then the only other things that we saw during this teaser was a mysterious person walking on the beach. Given their clothing, it might be the warrior lady. Not exactly sure, but it's definitely not one of our main cast of Team RWBY or Neo or Jean, as the outfit seems completely different, at least given their legs. And also well, I'm just gonna say it's toothless for now. It's probably not, but there's some three-eyed creature that's under a pile of leaves that is talking to the camera. It's definitely something that is able to speak, but it's not something that is human. So, you know, given the eyes, I'm just gonna say it's toothless for now. It's obviously going to be something different, but we're probably going to be seeing a number of different races of sentient beings that will be present throughout this other realm. What is really interesting, though, is the narration that's going on during this teaser. A female voice speaks to the camera, saying that this is the story of a girl with a lot of problems. Before she went back home, she had a great many questions to ponder. After all the lessons she's learned and the friends she's made and lost, who has she become? Would she be the same person when she returned home? This portion of the narration definitely referring to the fairy tale The Girl Who Fell Through the World. It's pretty much exactly what was described by Oscar back in Volume 8, when he was alone in that cell in Salem's fortress, or I guess Monstra, the Grim Whale, which was essentially her fortress at the time, but he was describing the girl who fell through the world, that she was sad when she returned to her own world because she wasn't the same person anymore. The person narrating this teaser is not Salem, so it's not a narrator that we are used to, likely a new character that is going to be introduced in Volume 9, and my guess would be Alex herself, the girl who fell through the world. We learned that Alex was the name of the girl who fell through the world in Roman Holiday, so likely this is a character that is going to be introduced in Volume 9. But given the way that this is all narrated, that, of course, the teaser is focusing on RWBY herself, it's also kind of giving the hint that RWBY herself might be the girl who fell through the world, or at least the second coming of the girl who fell through the world. Alex was first, RWBY's following in her footsteps, has a great many questions, and then the latter part of the narration, which goes as follows. The leaves of the tree rustled, and on the wind she heard one last question. What are you? And when it says that question during the narration, the what is repeated a number of times, seemingly by a number of these new characters that were introduced. The mouse is one of them, as well as the cat, and also this being that is beneath the leaves, and also seemingly the warrior lady. So if my understanding is correct, all of these characters are asking what RWBY is. And that is an interesting question in and of itself, and probably the main question that RWBY might have to answer throughout the volume. What is she? Is she a normal girl? Is she a huntress? Is she a savior? Is she a silver-eyed warrior? Or is she simply a human? No different than anyone else. There's definitely going to be some philosophical ideas present over the course of Volume 9. Some questions that RWBY herself is going to need to answer, and likely the rest of her team and John and Neo as well. Things that they are going to have to come to understand about themselves, possibly each other, and the way that the world works. Especially now that we are going to be exploring a brand new realm, the RWBY multiverse is kind of seeming more and more like a possibility. We still don't know what the origins of this world are, what the rules it operates by, and we're going to be introduced to a number of other minor characters as well. Maybe not any that will follow Team RWBY back to their original world, but definitely characters that are going to be relevant over the course of Volume 9. There are many possibilities for what could happen in this alternate world, and the number of things that we might experience. Obviously, with there being a talking mouse, and with the Cheshire Cat being so blatantly introduced, this world is a Wonderland-esque world, but also has hints of other things in it. The giant world tree in the middle of it, I'm still thinking is inspired by Yggdrasil, the world tree from Norse mythology, but it could be something entirely different. I don't know if there's a giant tree that's present in Alice in Wonderland. Maybe someone can let me know in the comments down below, but overall, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Volume 9 will bring us. Before that, though, we do have all of Ice Queendom that has yet to really get into the thick of the plot, as well as, RWBY Arrowfell and other RWBY content. This was just a teaser, so I'm assuming we're going to get a trailer at some point along the way. Hopefully still within 2022, but, we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts on this teaser down in the comments below. What do you think of the new characters that will seemingly be relevant throughout the course of the volume? The mouse especially. Little is going to be following RWBY around. She seems to have it on her shoulder in a number of the shots, and is going to be a travel companion of sorts for probably most of the volume. I'd love to see more of the Cheshire Cat. As I mentioned in my Discord server, Zwei's probably sensing a disturbance in the Force now that RWBY is starting to make connections with a cat, and Zwei has just been left at home, but, we'll see what happens with that. I would love the Cheshire Cat and Zwei to meet at some point, but, that's just a pipe dream at this point in time. Let me know your ideas on the world itself, all of these other characters, the knight that we saw and its possible relation to Jean, the stoic warrior that we saw, the possible queen or king, at least royalty of this other realm, possibly the Queen of Hearts, or something along those lines if it really is Wonderland inspired, and depending on how far they're going to delve into that, there's So many questions and so many possibilities, and I want to know what you all think. And if you enjoyed this video, the breakdown of the little teaser that we got for Volume 9, and want to see more like it, more RWBY content in general, covering Ice Queendom for now, as well as Arrowfell when it comes out, and RWBY Volume 9, there's plenty of RWBY content on the horizon, so make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at Phoenix Knight 7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.